So today, this is going to be a battle of two sherried Scotches on the slightly more affordable end of the spectrum. I say slightly. The Macallan 12-year Sherry Oak and the GlenAllachie 12-year, for which I still have a sample. Now, both are heavily sherried whiskies. Both are highly regarded Scotches. But for those of us that enjoy sherried whiskies, which should you buy? Both I have ranked the Macallan at a 3 for quality and the GlenAllachie at a 3 for quality. So it comes down to which would you pick if you're tight on money and you need to choose and you can't have both, which would you get? Let's see, shall we? This is Whisky. I'm John Chidgey. Always remember to drink responsibly, in moderation, and where and when appropriate. Feel free to like and subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube, and visit engineer.network/whisky without the E to learn how you can support the show. Thank you. The two distilleries are practically next door to each other. They're only 12 k's or 9 miles apart, and with both of them inside the Speyside boundary, near Dufftown. Their warehouses for storing their whiskey are about the same height above sea level, and they're both located in similar topographies and distances from the ocean, meaning that terroir isn't really a big factor, and any differences between these two will come down primarily to the grains they use, their fermentation, distillation, and cask maturation. The Macallan 12-year Sherry Oak sells for $169.99 Australian at Dan Murphy's, whereas the GlenAllachie 12-year can be grabbed from Sense of Taste for $139.99 Australian. Both are regularly available and can be discounted usually by about $20 each from time to time, and often actually at the same time. The GlenAllachie 12 is about $30 or 20% cheaper than the Macallan. So that's cost. In terms of the vital stats between the two, we know the Macallan 12 is chill filtered because that's just what Macallan do, and the GlenAllachie is not chill filtered because that's what GlenAllachie don't do. I think. Well, I mean, thumbs up to the GlenAllachie, not so much to the Macallan, but that's okay. The Macallan has a 40% ABV on the floor, whilst the GlenAllachie is bottled at 46%, which is hardly surprising given their stance on chill filtering. Both have been matured in Oloroso sherry casks from Spain. Neither of them are peated, although the GlenAllachie has some of the maturation done in virgin oak and ex Pedro Yemenez sherry casks as well. So, slight difference there. And so we have a taste-off. And now, as I do with side-by-sides, I'm going to ignore observational things like colour and legs. I just want to focus on judging them by the nose, the palate, the mouthfeel, and the finish. And I'm not re-rating either of these, to be clear. If you want those reviews, the Macallan 12 Sherry Oak re-review can be found here, and the GlenAllachie 12-year review can be found here. All right, let's do this. I think we'll start with the Macallan 12 Sherry Oak. Such a delightful sherry note to it. Just lovely. All right, I'm getting vanilla. It's fruity, definitely. There's a very faint nutmeg. I'm definitely getting oak on that. And there's a faint citrus as well. There's a little bit of citrus. I'd say it's orange more than anything. All right, let's have a go at this. Oh, God, it's lovely. Sweet on the front of the palate. Definitely nice vanilla. Little bit of cinnamon, just light. It's well balanced. It really doesn't burn much at all, and that's one of the things I like about it. It's easy sipping, maybe a little too easy. Slightly buttery in the mouthfeel, but honestly, it is a little bit thin on the mouthfeel. Now the finish on it, when I re-reviewed this, I had reset my expectations regarding finishes. This is clearly just a moderate finish, but it's got beautiful warmth to it. Alrighty. GlenAllachie time. The GlenAllachie 12. Okay, so on the nose, you definitely got cinnamon and honey. You can smell, it smells a little bit like dark chocolate. The sherry notes are far more subtle on this one. It doesn't slap you in the nose. It smells like barley sugar lollies. I mean, really. All right, let's go in. Yeah. So that's got a much more creamy, a little bit oily mouthfeel. You can chew on it. Whereas the Macallan, you can't quite chew on it. Butterscotch on the palate. It's warm on the front, and then as it progresses then towards the middle, that's the thing I love about this one. This one, there's a subtle bit of coffee, lightly roasted coffee on that finish. It's like it's kind of different, and it's kind of nice. I'm not gonna lie. Well. See, it's always tough when you're doing side-by-sides. Now, ordinarily, when I do side-by-sides, I would ask, if money was no object, which is the better Scotch. The truth is, they're pretty close in price. I mean, the only real question is, they're both great Scotches, and they're both they are both sherried. Yes, the Macallan is more sherried than the GlenAllachie 12. There's no question about that. But is it worth an extra $30 a bottle? I mean, in the cost context, the $30 sounds like it's not a lot, but it kind of is. Because if you were to go through 3 bottles of Macallan 12 Sherry Oak, you could have almost bought 4 of the GlenAllachies. So you're almost getting an extra bottle every 3 bottles. Mind you, I don't suggest or recommend you rip through bottles like that. It's just for cost comparatives points of view, and if you rip them through 3 bottles, anyway, this is a comparative. I'm not doing that. My Macallan 12 has lasted me 7 or 8 months at this point, and it's still only half empty. So, and half full. Sorry, half full. I'm a half full kind of guy these days. If I had to pick one or the other, would I, right now, knowing what I know now, would I pick the Macallan or the GlenAllachie 12? And I am going to pick the GlenAllachie 12. And a part of me inside is hurting when I say this, because I do love my Macallan 12 Sherry Oak. But the reason I wanted to pair these and put them side by side is because it's a genuinely good question. I mean, if you're doing this and you've only got a certain amount of money, can you justify the extra $30 for this baby? I mean, obviously I started here, but I hadn't tried this. I hadn't tried the GlenAllachie at the time, so I didn't know what it was like. And with the benefit of hindsight, time, and more experience. So why the GlenAllachie? First of all, yes, it is cheaper, and I am very price sensitive. I can't justify buying really expensive whiskey. I mean, from now and then I'll buy a really nice bottle, but generally speaking, I can't justify that. And the GlenAllachie 12, what I do like that the Macallan doesn't have is it's got that bit of extra complexity to it, and the mouthfeel on it is you can chew on it a bit longer. The finish is just a little bit longer, and honestly, there's something about those slight coffee notes, because I'm a bit of an espresso and latte kind of drinking fan as well. Honestly, I just find the GlenAllachie to be just that little bit more interesting. And it's hard to justify the extra $30 when you don't get that complexity. The mouthfeel's not quite as nice. But the only thing the Macallan's got over the GlenAllachie 12 is that there is a much stronger sherry note on the Macallan. So if you absolutely love those really strong sherry note flavors, by all means, spend the extra, get the Macallan. But I'll be honest with you, I don't think if I had the money now and I could buy either, I would save the $30 and I would get the GlenAllachie. So there it is, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Decision. GlenAllachie 12 is the winner. And with that, cheers. See you next time. Sorry, Macallan. Oh, that's lovely. Billy Walker, love your work.